April.
I'm coming.
We made it.
Hold on, let me get my video.
Oh, it's all good.
Awesome.
Yay!
Yay!
We figured something out.
I'm sorry I have to do it with headphones on, but it's less delay.
Oh, it's all good.
So
we've got Susan coming in. And
I'm excited.
We're gonna record this and we'll post it on the YouTube page.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we'll make it to work. I'm excited. Yay, me too. There's some great questions.
Hi, Shepherd. My dog is
all kinds of
hello.
Coming in. Thanks for doing this, April.
Oh my gosh, no problem. This is fun.
Yeah, it will be fun. Hello, everybody. All right, I'm gonna pin. Let's do speaker view, and we'll just be able to see April here.
And my dog.
Jump right into it because we got started a little bit late, but that's okay. But at least now we don't have a time restriction because Insta Live only goes for an hour.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Great. So first thing I've got some questions that I wanted to ask, and then we got a bunch of questions from students and parents and stuff. So the first thing I feel like every time I talk to you, I learn a new story about like your life.
My crazy life.
Yeah, like crazy jobs that you've had and whatever. So like, let's just get into it. Okay. So where did you grow up? What was your?
I grew up. I was born in Long Beach, California. My father was in the Navy in Vietnam, or after Vietnam, and then we moved back to Massachusetts. So I kind of grew up in Massachusetts, and then when I was in 4th grade, we moved to Florida because my dad actually worked.
Oh, hang on, sorry. Did I mute you? Hang on. I'm gonna unmute April. There we go. Sorry, you're all set.
So yeah, my dad worked for a company that made parts for NASA, so we moved to Florida around the space program. And then way back in the Wayback Machine, when the shuttle blew up, a lot of people got laid off, and so it wasn't his fault. But then I moved to Arizona, and I went to high school in Arizona and college in Arizona, and then I started touring and traveling.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah. I didn't realize you were born in California.
Yeah, it's very weird. Long Beach.
Yeah. So so what age again did you move from California?
I was baby.
My
parents drove across the country in like a 57 Chevy. And
wow.
Yes.
So then what was like your first step getting started with the arts? Like what was your first experience?
Well, ballet, I started off in ballet. Like that was a big thing is my mom got into dance when she was older, like after she had me, just doing the Patriots cheerleading thing and stuff like that. So she was always
right. You sent me that picture. That's so cool.
It's crazy, but so she was into it. So she always knew either I was going to do a sport or I was going to dance. I had to be active. That was just the rule in our house. So I stuck with ballet, and ballet was what I did for a very, very long time. I got into jazz, and I liked tap because I could make noise, but ballet was like the thing I loved. And then I got injured. So I got more into musical theater and things like that. I did do theater and ballet through high school. Like I still did all of those things, but I got more into theater after I got injured. So
gotcha. And so do you want to kind of share the story of that injury? Because I couldn't, it's like something out of a movie, like you know those crazy ballet movies you see, and you're like, oh, that doesn't happen. Like that's actually what your story. Like they could make a movie about.
I was performing on stage, and I was never like a principal dancer. I was always like that weird soloist that does the fairy. You know, like I was always like
the fairy of the golden vine. Like,
yeah, I was the jumper. I was like the little jumper. Somebody left a trap door just slightly unhinged on stage.
Oh Lord.
And I broke all of my metatarsals on one side of my foot. And yeah, the doctor thought it would be really funny to come in and go, oh yeah, you're not going to be dancing. And I was like, oh. He's like, for 6 months. I was like, okay. But then after that, I just had a weak side. And it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me though, because I got more into theater. My career is so much longer. Like, totally. It was just awesome. So it was, I mean, I hate to say like, oh yay, I hurt myself.
Yeah, blessing in disguise, kind of.
Yeah, blessing in disguise, definitely.
For sure. I mean, yeah, that must have been devastating at first. Like when you were.
At first, yeah, I was just, I don't know, I just saw myself as a dancer, and then finally
Right.
I had to kind of look at things a little bit differently. So
That's crazy. And so sorry, remind me, how old were you when that happened?
I don't even remember, to be brutally honest. I want to say 18, 19.
Okay, so you were like, for me,
I was apprentice age. Like I was
yeah, like that's what I mean. Like at 18 years old, you're in your career already. Like you're getting ready to
I think a lot of people
do
don't
it.
realize that about your dance career. Like it starts when you're 15, 16.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
you start getting into more apprenticeships and things like that. And then
Sure.
when you can't, 3 years later, you're like, oh man.
Life changing, literally life changing. So
But awesome life changing. So it's
right. So I want to we get on to the fun stuff.
The more fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but I did want to ask. So that was with Arizona
Ballet Arizona and Phoenix Ballet.
And Phoenix Ballet. Okay, so did you start with Ballet Arizona?
No, I actually took I took classes in Florida, obviously, when I was living there, and I was very, very, very into ballet. And then I got more into other stuff. Like fun fact, like one of the studios I took classes from in Arizona was like a feeder for Star Search. Okay. So like old school, like 1980s Star Search. So like lot of this, like, yeah, very funny.
All kinds of crazy people. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So so you get injured and you're like, okay, what now? What was the next step you took?
Just basically getting more into theater, and then I actually re-injured it when I was in Sesame Street Live. So my first job out of high school, I took a year off and did Sesame Street Live, and then went to college after that. Okay. And then my junior year of college, I got another gig with them, just to tour and go to the Philippines and things like that. So that was really cool. But so yeah, I did that. My first show I ever did was Oliver when I was a freshman in high school. That was my first professional job. So my first equity show was when I was.
So you were doing that like while
I was doing ballet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of like.
I did both, but it was my passion was more ballet. But I got cast because I could dance.
Okay.
I couldn't sing. I could barely sing until I got to like senior in high school, college. Like I was one of those like, oh, just put her in the chorus, she'll be fine.
That's funny. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that. I don't know. Just think of these people that make it on Broadway or just can make it in the industry.
Broadway is just like any other theater. Yeah, Broadway is just like any other theater. Like people put it on this pedestal, but the stages are actually smaller.
Yeah, it's so true.
Like they're tiny little theaters. Like it's as they like to say, same stuff, different stage.
Yeah.
So
very cool. Very cool. Yeah. I didn't realize all that. So and then I had a question. Feel a little. Speaking of that, like how's quarantine going for you? Like how's your body adjusting to teaching at home? Because for me, I know it's been a little different.
It's fun. My hardest thing is that I really want to be able to watch my students.
Yeah.
So I'm using a lot of videos just so I can get in and be like, fix your feet, fix your knees. Like I don't want to be up here doing it and I can't see anybody. So I'm like, totally. Oh, they all know I am like right up in their face. I'm like, fix it. Yeah. All of my students are like, yeah, that's what she does.
So now that you're on Instagram and it's like forced your way into
I was like, I'm not a social media person, so
it's all good. But I did post on like my personal account, I posted a really funny video that I saw. It was like all the different kinds of quarantine dance teachers. You'll have to check it out. Yeah. I was like, oh, that one's April. It was really funny. I'll send it to you later.
I'll have to look at it. Yeah. I sent my TAP students their new song, so
yes, that's right. That's right.
Oh, they're doing that. Oh, it's happening.
Oh, you got to do it.
It's not even a question. That's what's happening.
Yes, absolutely. So just getting back on track here. So, I wanted to ask, can you maybe speak to how your early training and, just whatever you were working on from a younger age kind of set you up for success later on?
I think the best thing that ever happened is like we all get to that point in dance where like I'm done, like table flip, I'm out, I don't want to do it anymore. and my mom, I will give her credit for this. My mom said, if you want to quit in a month, I will let you quit.
Really?
And it was like, that was the thing. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's boring. Plie all the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do it. And she's like, if you want to quit in a month, I will let you quit. But again, you have to pick a sport. You have to do something.
Right.
Like I got into gymnastics and things like that. I think that's why I loved to do ballet, but they let me kind of go. Again, I was always like the black sheep of the ballet studio.
And I can imagine, like, with how much energy you have as an adult, like, as a kid, you must have.
I was a nutcase. I was a nut. So
right, your parents.
Yeah. So I think that was a very pivotal thing for me when my mom said, you can quit, but you have to do it in 30 days. You have to stick with this for 30 more days. And I have been doing it for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me think of like, well, what am I going to do if I'm not doing this? And that was the, like, a kind of around 12 years old. I just was like, wow, I don't know what I would do if I wasn't dancing.
Right. I think that's a really pivotal age for some, like, for kids in general. Like, you're either going to stick with this thing and it's going to be a huge part of your life, or you're just going to like, I got to find something else.
Yeah, table flip, boom.
Exactly.
But, and then the other thing that she has said to me that I have kind of taken with me is like, even if you don't dance, you are now an educated audience.
Exactly.
So you're an audience member that can go, oh, I did that when I was little and that wasn't quite right, or oh my gosh, that's amazing. So that's a huge takeaway for me, just from any kind of training. You are now a smart audience.
Absolutely.
This educated audience that can have a conversation. I mean, you don't want to be someone that's waiting at the stage door that was like, I did drama when I was in high school.
Right.
Because I've met plenty of those, but.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So no, that's really perfect advice. I think, like, even if it's not your passion and you're not aiming to be a professional necessarily.
Yeah, you have a new respect for it.
Yeah, a respect and understanding of the arts. Love that. Okay, so now going back to the timeline sort of thing. So your first gig you mentioned was in high school?
Yeah, my first gig was Oliver. The musical Oliver. I played a boy. I've played more boys in my life than anything. It's hilarious. Molly's like, testify.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but awesome. It's and then I actually the very first show big show I did, it was a summer camp, but this is the coolest idea for a summer camp. I don't know why they still don't do it. Well, now I know because it's quarantine. Well, but it was called Center Stage USA, and they would pick like 25 kids. We'd do the show, but not only would you do the show, you had to learn to set up the sound booth. You had to set up the stage and strike it and do all this stuff.
Cool.
Every day. But you do the show for 2 weekends. This was in Phoenix. You do 2 shows. You do 2 weekends a show, and then you take the show on tour for the entire summer. And you go to other performing arts camps. So we went all through California, Canada, all through New York. We went to see Broadway shows and then came back. And that's what got me hooked. I was like, I am doing this.
And that's real. Like,
it's real. Like,
I have friends that have, gone to school, done the theater thing, grew up dancing and training, and then went on tour and were like, this is awful. Like, this is too much. The work is so hard. But to you, it sounds like it was the opposite feeling. You were like, this. Oh,
I prefer touring. I actually prefer it.
Yeah.
To being it. I like doing like shows and being in the theater, but touring for me is so much fun. You never know what you're walking into.
Yeah.
You have your A show, your B show, your C show, which is basically you're on the tour bus or you're on the plane, and the tour manager gets called. It's like, okay, it's an A show today, which means the full show. All of the set pieces can be involved. Mm-hmm. But then they're like, okay, it's a C show. Like 6 set pieces are not going to be in the show. And then there's the question mark where you get in there and you're like, are we just doing this in the round? Like, what's happening? So it's very fun.
Very adventurous sounds.
I loved it.
That must be a big difference between being like on a Broadway show.
Well, and like doing a traditional show, like, and where you the venue.
Yeah.
You have your dressing room.
Yeah.
And it's your stuff, and you basically move into your small dressing room apartment.
Right.
Like you and your dressing room mates. Usually there's like 3 or 4 of us in a dressing room.
Yeah.
Unless you have your own, which is awesome sometimes.
Yeah.
But very rare on tour do you have your own dressing room. But when it's a stationary show, then you depending on your role, you have your own
That's gotta be
dressing room.
fun. Like when you're in the group setting, it gets your energy. Like that.
Yeah. Oh, and you can mess with your friends. I don't know how many times I've messed with my friends.
Oh, I'm gonna write that down. We'll come to that in a little bit. Like, actually, let's just get into it. Let's just while I'm thinking of it, like pranks. Any tour or field pranks? What's like
some of my students know this. Some of my students know this already. We've had a couple good pranks. I had a dressing room mate on the Wedding Singer tour, Jill Zygo. Maybe I'll clue her into this video. And they're all on Broadway now. But she was very OCD, and so she would set up her dressing room. Everything had its place, and everything, you know, her eyeshadows were here, and her eyeliners, and her lipsticks, and then the brushes, and everything was set. Yep. And we were only on stage like 2 times together, and then every other time we were crossing paths.
Okay.
Like I'd leave stage and she'd go on stage. So I basically took the dressing room and flipped it. And so as I was walking on stage, I hear April. So and then this one's kind of gross, and my friend Bradley will attest to this. So during a dress rehearsal for Joseph, one of the trapdoors malfunctioned and it actually took off the top of his finger.
Oh.
And so like we got the kid, because there were kids in the show, so we're like, everybody out, and I picked up it, put it in the thing, and put it in the ice cup, and all these things. But when he finally came back to the show, the first time we opened the trap door, there were a bunch of fake plastic fingers in it.
Oh my gosh.
So we're like, yeah, I was like, ah!
Well, at least yeah, good support about it. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was pretty creepy.
Yeah.
I'll get Bradley to talk to musical theater class at some point.
That'll be great.
Yeah, he's awesome.
That's awesome. So yeah, you kind of touched on like a bunch of the different gigs that you've had, jobs that you've done. What was your favorite of all the work that you did?
Oh, it's so hard. I loved Wedding Singer. I really did love doing that tour. That was one of my tours. But Hairspray I did it for so long. Like I do love Hairspray too.
Yeah.
So it's a toss. I hate cats. I did the show for a long time. It's a dance recital covered in fur, but I'm just not a fan of cats.
Did you see
we tried. Like my director was awesome. Yeah, he was the same director for All Shook Up. The same guy directed the show.
Very different shows.
And he tried so hard to give us like acting and motivation and a plot. Like he tried so hard, and I was just like,
And that's like, those are 2 very different shows. Did you see the Cats movie, the new one?
I saw one part of it, and then I stopped watching it.
And I stopped watching it.
I was mad because Jenny Anigas is supposed to be a tap number, and I love Rebel Wilson. Nothing against Rebel Wilson, but I was just like,
yeah. Well, for the diehard, Broadway people, it's like.
Well, the white cat, like Victoria needs to be like, boom. And it's like, no.
I know, you see those memes where it's like Broadway cats, movie cats.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I mean, the group is funny, so.
Yeah, like, I'm not a dorky Broadway person at all. Like,
no,
serious.
Not April whatsoever. No. So what was, if you feel comfortable saying it, we can skip over it if you're not, but what was your least favorite work?
Cats.
No,
I enjoyed doing the show. I have some of the funniest stories that come out of that show. I've never had more of a workout in my life. That show was like an hour and a half of like nonstop.
Yeah.
No costume changes, but I have pictures of myself in the unitard just like sweat everywhere. Worst. I had to do a production of Rapunzel. And this was a children's show, and the entire show was a made-up language.
Oh my gosh!
Like we had to make up our own language and just pretend to talk. Like it's like watching a show with The Sims talking.
Oh.
Like that's the only thing I can compare it to.
Why?
It was just an experimental theater thing that this director wanted to do, and he's great. Like I love this director. I still talk to him. Okay. All of my co-stars, like we still talk to each other, but it's just every now and then I'll just text and be like, "Ooh, chala," and that was like something I made up. And so that was probably the worst thing I had to do. Or Beauty and the Beast in Spanish. That was another hard one.
Holy cannoli! Yeah, that we have some questions from students later on that kind of tie back.
Okay, I see.
That kind of
I'm seeing some stuff.
Or the adults in Peanuts.
The adults.
Someone said that, gecko.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. Okay, moving on. But so that kind of coming back to cats, I guess a little bit, because talking about stage makeup. So some of your favorite looks and kind of maybe a summary of your stage makeup experience. And
obviously cats was the hardest I've ever done. Like at first, when we first started the show, you saw a little bit of it for Halloween. Like that was minor cats makeup.
No, awesome.
It's crazy, but you got to get to, when we first started, it used to take me an hour and a half to do it.
Yeah.
And then I got it down to 30 minutes. So
nice.
It's crazy. You basically have to reform the definition of your face.
Yeah.
So you have to like use makeup to
contour,
bring everything back. Your upper lip has to disappear. So you have to like put makeup on here so that your bottom lip is the only thing showing. So that brings your face forward. All these things will bring your nose forward. Crazy. Your eyes, like your makeup has to go way up here. So your eyes look bigger.
And by your eyebrows.
Yeah. And that's your eyebrow now goes above your eyebrow. It's like drag queen craziness. And then the other one I really liked, I got to do a Vita. And the thing I really liked about that is I had to age. So I had to start age 15 and I had to end like 26, 27. So I got to age myself throughout the show. So that was kind of fun. And obviously the Ed makeup for All Shook Up, that's just fun.
Of course, right.
Putting a beard on is great.
That's a fun one, yeah. April apparently plays a lot of dudes, so.
Apparently I play a lot of guys.
Plays a lot of dudes. So why, this is like bouncing back a little bit, but or bouncing forward, I guess. When did you decide, okay, like, because I feel like that's the cool thing about being an actor is you can continue, like as a dancer you kind of have a shelf life, like there's a point where your body's like I can't do this anymore, but as an actor you could potentially keep going. So what made you decide to just be like I'm done, I gotta do something different?
Well, I'm not done. I'm what we like to call between types.
Yep.
In the industry, so I can't legitimately, even though I'm short and small, I can't legitimately play a teenager or like a young 20s anymore. So, and I don't really on stage from far away, I don't look like I'm in my 30s or 40s yet. The face is starting to get there, girls. We're working on it. But it's
flex foot and you'll be there.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things you have to know your type in this industry.
Yeah.
Don't fool yourself. Like if they're looking for a 6-foot blonde with, curves, it ain't me. So I'm not going to go audition for those parts. But the parts that I want to play now are in their 30s and 40s. And so I just got to wait. It's one of those things. You got to be patient and wait and have a good self-awareness. I think a lot of times in this industry, people are like, I am perfect for that role. And you look at them, you're like, are you kidding me right now? So you just have to be very honest with yourself, look at yourself and be like, all right, what are you ready for? And then I got thrown into directing pretty quickly. I was doing a show in Pennsylvania and they lost their director for a theater for young audiences. So it was adults performing, but it was always for kids.
Okay, and how old were you at the point?
Yeah, and I was, oh God, I don't even know. I'm looking around the room because like my resume's in the room. It was, I want to say like 20 years ago. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
You were pretty young.
Yeah, and they threw me into it and I directed it and I was a terrible director. I was so bad. I was so mean because I just yelled at them like a dance teacher. To the point where I had to go, like, the cast went to the producer and was like, she's the worst director I've ever had. And I was like, oh! So it changed, it kind of changed me, but that was the first time I ever directed, and I realized I liked it. I liked kind of not being on stage, and so I've kind of, obviously, over the next 20 years, I have grown into being a director and choreographer, and I like it, and I didn't think I would, to be honest. I was like, this is just something I can fall back on. And now it's like, no, this is actually something I really like doing. So I don't know if I'm going to perform again. I might, if a show comes up that I'm like, yeah, I'm down. I want to do that show. Right. I'll go audition for it, but I'm not, it's nice to know that I don't have to.
Right. You've got options.
I've got other things, and I've got other, like, I love my students. I love it when my students get like the role they want and they call me and they're just like, oh my gosh, I got this. I'm like, yes. You know, it just makes me happy. And I didn't think that would be fulfilling. And now it is.
Totally.
So.
No, I totally get that side of things. While still, like, I'm kind of still in my dance career. Like, obviously everything's kind of put on pause right now, but doing the teacher and more director side of things is rewarding in its own sense. I totally get that.
And people don't get it. They're like, oh yeah, you're settling. It's like, I'm actually not.
No, it's not.
It's not settling. Like, it's actually really fun.
Yeah, and honestly though, I think that being a teacher, maybe you feel the same way, like, has made me a better artist, because I see the mistakes that there maybe they're not even mistakes, but you kind of do learn as you teach. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, also when my students are in the audience, I know that I have to bring my A game.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't schlep. I can't, I'm like, ooh, I cannot. I got to warm up for this now. All right.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, you want to do it for them. Yeah. Definitely. That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, so you kind of still are leaving open-ended on the possibility of performing again.
I mean, unless I get Evita in the first national tour, I'm not going anywhere. Like, that show's hard. It's hard. And it's like, one of my friends, they called me back. They called me to do Joseph again, and I was like,
oh wow, that's right.
I'm not. Yeah, like, I'm like, I got a lot of commitments, and they're like, oh, would you do Cats again? I'm like, unless I'm limping across the stage singing Memory, it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna be dancing that show.
So good at it. That's awesome. So when did you move to Maine? Like, at what point in the journey did that kind of come into
this? Okay, my journey to Maine. My husband and I met on a cruise ship. I was working on a cruise ship, and he was in charge of flying me, so that was fun.
Cool. That's a lot of trust right after that.
Yeah, sometimes, and sometimes I would just mess with him, so it's okay. But yeah, we met on the cruise ship, and for us, the contracts are 10 months on board and 2 months off.
Okay.
So 10 months on, 2 months off, 10 months on, 2 months off. And so we started dating on the cruise ship, and then we had our 2 months off, and he's like, well, I'd like to go to America, because he's from England. And he had only been to, like, Portland, Oregon. He'd never been to, like, anything else. So I was like, all right, here's Maine. And the ironic thing is, where he's from in England looks just like Maine.
Oh yeah.
It's hilarious. Like, it's the same. He lives in Hartlepool, England. It's the northeast side of England. It's all the same geography, weather, except his parents live right by the ocean. So it's a little bit different.
That's awesome.
But, we came here for a month, and then we went to England for a month, and we decided, we talked about it. We definitely want to be together. And he's like, you want to live in Maine? And I was like, yeah, well, why not? I've done everything I want to do, so why not? So it was just it was a very much just sort of a whim that stuck, and I love it here. I love Maine.
Wow, well, how lucky are we to have April here?
I love Maine. I even when I drive down to Massachusetts to visit my family, I'm like, I don't want to live here.
No, I
hate Massachusetts. No, I
not the same.
I shouldn't say that, but I don't want to live in Massachusetts. I have
it's
no
not
desire.
The same. I will say that. Like, not the same at all. Cool. So, when you were on the cruise ship and you met your now husband, like, how did that kind of start? Just because you were together so much, like working together so much?
Just camaraderie. Honestly, we had really good, as they say in England, we had really good banter.
Yeah.
we just give each other crap all the time, and we were friends, and
nice.
And then it just took off from there, and we couldn't be apart.
Aww.
It was just one of those. Yeah, it's one of those things. It was just like, I don't actually want to be without you, so we're not. So
we're just gonna move to Maine, and
we're gonna just move to Maine and do those things. I remember we had the world's fastest wedding. Our wedding was 15 minutes long.
Wow.
Nobody was there. I think my dad and my stepmom were there. We had witnesses, but that was it. It was like 15-minute wedding. Boom, done.
Wow.
So maybe someday I will have a wedding reception. Maybe
heck yeah. Oh my gosh, I will help.
Molly's like, yes.
No,
I've always wanted to have a Halloween themed wedding reception, so everybody has to come in a costume.
That's so April. Yeah.
I would.
So April.
I think it would be really funny to just be like, all right, everybody has to come in a costume. Let's do this.
You let me know when you're ready to start planning that. I'm all over it. That's
okay. Adri's got to make the cake, but
cake, yes. Actually, while that's brought up, one of my questions was you one of your hobbies is cooking. Like, you
love it
on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, this is so good. Like, what got you into that? What do you like cooking the most?
I got into cooking. I won a contest, and it was just like this silly contest, but it was a free semester at Culinary Institute.
What?
And so I went, the like recreational side of it, not the professional side of it.
That's
Like,
so cool though.
the professional side, I think I would be in tears if I had a chef yelling at me. All like Adri tells me these horror stories. I'd be crying in a corner, like in the fetal position, going back and forth. So I was like, no. But I got to attend this recreational. They're all like, we're having your Halloween theme. They just sent me a text like, we're doing it. I'm on it. Oh, let's do it.
No, we're doing it. Yeah, you got to invite all the studio though. That's
absolutely.
The caveat.
I will invite everybody. That would be amazing. As long as you guys dance, like you have to do a dance.
Oh, flash mob all the way.
Okay, that's my request.
Yeah. All right, I can deliver on flash mob.
Okay.
We're halfway there.
Okay, so we're already planning this thing.
Yeah.
So what was I saying? What was I even talking about?
We were talking about cooking.
Oh, cooking. Yeah. So I went to school and I just kind of got into it, and I'm a really good cook, but I'm the world's worst baker.
Really?
I can't bake. I'm bad. It's the chemistry. I don't like it because I eyeball everything and I'm like, I'm gonna add some more of this. And Adrian's probably like, clawing her face off right now. But yeah, I don't bake. I love to cook, but I don't bake.
Oh, well, there you go. The stuff you put on Facebook that you cook, I'm like, oh, that looks amazing. So jumping back to my question.
My very rare social media posts are usually
yes, I know.
Or my dog.
I should have just jumped right into Facebook Live, but I didn't know if you could do it. I've never seen it done, like two people Facebook. Anyway, we figured it out. We're good. So
I made homemade lemonade too. That's the other thing. Is I made homemade lemonade.
Lemonade is the best. Love it. Oh, and you made this really good thing for. You brought it to the Christmas week at MDC. It was like the cookie dip or something like that.
Oh yeah, cookie dip is the bomb.
So good.
Cool Whip, cream cheese, chocolate chips, vanilla extract.
That's all you need. What else do you need? That's amazing. So what drew you, like, so you said you kind of got thrown into directing like a while ago, and then did you kind of go, you were back to performing, didn't really do any directing, teaching work for a while, and then when you came back to Maine, is that when it kind of started back up?
Yeah, after I finished performing on the ships and Jim and I decided to settle here in Maine, honest answer, I started teaching because he couldn't work for a year. Like you can't, if you go through immigration,
right.
If you go through immigration legally, you can't, in which don't even let him get on a soapbox on that one. Because he had to go through all of the steps to get his, green card and his social security number and pay taxes and all those things. So he couldn't work for a year. And I just was like, okay, what is my skill set? I can't leave leave the state. I can't leave the state. So I can either perform, but there wasn't a lot for me. I knew the guys at Maine State, like I had worked with them when I was 14 years old in Arizona. So that's how I know them.
Yeah, right.
But, I know Kurt and Mark have known me forever. They got me. But I just was like, no. And so I started teaching, and it worked out great. And then Jim, believe it or not, got some under the table work. But because he had the certifications for theater rigging.
Tech stuff, yeah.
They asked him if he wanted to do it with a chainsaw and cut trees down. So
there you go. That's right.
So that's kind of how he got into doing the arborist stuff. And
so now he's a Maine lumberjack. Exactly.
Now he's difference. There's a difference. He will be the first to tell you. I'm the one who climbs them and puts them between the telephone poles in your house. A lumberjack just cuts them down. Yeah, okay. He actually climbs them and rigs them and how they're gonna fall. And he sends me pictures that are like, this is my view from the office today. I'm like, I don't want to see that. That's gross.
Scary. Yeah, that's scary work.
Yeah, it's very scary. It's actually the most dangerous job in Maine. Fantastic.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow, that's crazy. So does that worry you ever?
Always.
Seriously?
I mean, the fact that he has to go to work in Kevlar pants in case he accidentally slices his leg open, it's crazy, but everyone he works with is super respectful, responsible. It's kind of like being on a dance team. You're just there. Yeah. You know what's going on. They're very much aware. Safety is first. Same. Like it's just like everybody on the team.
Good. Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's gotta be a bit of a relief. So yeah, you're right, like dying inside. So came back to Maine, started teaching, started directing.
Yep.
What are your favorite, okay, and again, touch on as much or as little as you want, but favorite and least favorite parts of those types of jobs?
The hardest part of directing is casting, because I always know I'm gonna let someone down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like for me,
yeah.
I am someone that I really do get a lot of self-validation from the people's happiness around me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when I know that someone is going for a part and it's like I can't, even though I've worked with them, like I've helped them, I've helped them do what they want to do, and it's just like you didn't bring your A game today. And that's the hardest thing for me too as a director is I might teach, but I don't cast off of what I see you do in a lesson.
Yeah.
I have to cast you off to the from the audition, to be fair. Like it's not fair. Like say if I work with Catherine for 4 months and then I know that she can do this part, but she comes into the audition and doesn't care. It's
Which
like,
she would never do.
Not that you would ever do that, but
Yeah.
I used you as an example for a reason because I knew you could take it. But I have had that. I've had a couple times that kids
Really?
have worked, kids mostly, and some adults too that I've worked with. But
you're like
a lot of times where the kids came in just like, oh well, I worked with April, so I'm going to get this part, and it's like, actually,
right.
You
Well,
didn't
it's
bring
like, and it's
A-game.
your job, you know, as a
Yeah.
director or a teacher and educator to make them realize like you can't do that. Like
Yeah.
that's not fly
And
anywhere else.
especially in this industry, you may be the best dancer in the world, but if you have a bad audition, you're not going to get it.
So yeah, it's hard.
And it's just not, it's not going to happen. So and I feel like it's my job to teach that.
Yeah.
Obviously I have a little bit of leeway. I'll call them back. Like if they have a bad audition, but I know they can do it, I'll give them a call back and be like, all right, redeem yourself.
But make them work for it. Yeah.
But you gotta own it.
Lesson.
So that's my least favorite. Casting is my least favorite part. Of directing. My least favorite part of like performing is just having to learn all the stuff. Like it's like having to because I hate to say in the real world, like this is the real world. Yeah. But in a professional show, you're cast, you come in, you learn the show in 2 weeks and you open that 3rd week. So you've got to be, hopefully you're off book before rehearsals start, like if you know the show, but sometimes you don't get your script till that first rehearsal, especially if you're doing like an original work, then it changes. That's the other thing is you could be completely off book. They're like, actually, we rewrote this scene. And then you're like table flip. I've done a lot of those. But it's very normal in the rehearsal process. You'll go through your, you start rehearsal at 9, you get out at 5, you take a break, and then you go back from to like 6 to 8 to review stuff. Mm-hmm. And then at 8 o'clock, most of the cast will get together like, all right, let's run this. Let's make sure that we have this. Yeah. Well, and you are expected to know your choreography, your dialogue, and your blocking the next time they revisit that scene. So it's not like, oh, I have to review this in class. It's no, you have to know your stuff. Like you'll learn 1 number, 2nd number, 3rd number. All right, we're going to run all of those the next day. You have to know all of them. Yep. People that have worked with me, I do run stuff like that because I want to prepare them for that in the real world. Right. But you need to do your homework. I can teach to you. I can't learn it for you.
That's one thing I think I noticed from a teaching perspective, like we have so many more resources, and not to, because it's not like I'm calling myself old or anything, but like even when I was a kid, we didn't have Dropbox or whatever to upload videos of choreography. Like we didn't do that. You just, if you're lucky, you found the music on the internet. If not, you had to just remember it and then rehearse on your own. And so it's almost like because we have these resources,
I had a little tape recorder that I would record my parts and be like, all right, that's my vocal part.
Or just a notebook. Yeah, and you like just wrote out your stuff. But it's almost like sometimes I worry that because we have these resources, then are we like, or in our students, are they still practicing, or are they just falling back on, oh, well, I haven't.
I think they are. I feel like the students that want it are definitely doing
it. That's
the
difference, right? Yeah. That's what you see, like who's putting in the time with these resources. Yeah. Kind of thing.
But like students know we're not dumb, and we know they're not dumb. So it's like you can't. If you didn't do the work, we're gonna know. You're gonna know. Like it's right. You do what you gotta do. It's just a very basic thing. If you either put in the work or you don't.
Yep, definitely. And that, so that never goes away, right? Like
nope, ever. Never, ever. Even at 45, it doesn't go away.
We're gonna know my stuff. So I'm gonna just do, because I still have a bunch of questions from.
Go for it. We can go over if you want.
Okay,
we started late.
We'll just keep going. I'm gonna ask you one more of mine, and then we're gonna jump into everybody else's that they sent in.
Okay.
And this is kind of a weird question, but from your perspective, your experience, and you've studied and worked in a bunch of different kind of areas in this industry. So if you say had a 6-year-old daughter right now, and you wanted her to have the opportunity to succeed in the industry if she chose, what is the first thing that you would do for her?
Ballet class.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's basic. It's basic.
I appreciate the answer. I wasn't necessarily like trying to push you there, but I appreciate the answer.
I feel like ballet class, creative movement, anything that gets a child, especially like 6, even 4. Like I started dance when I was 2, but I feel like that doesn't count. That was like Miss Susie's School of Step Touch.
Yeah.
So but it's
you have its place,
anything that gets them to express themselves, like not ballet, just because that's my background. So I always say that. I had a student that's in high school, and they're like, I want to start dancing again. What do I do? Ballet, tap, or jazz? I'm like, ballet. They're like, really? I'm like, yes. Sorry, don't mean to be mean, but yes. Because I know ballet is the boring one, but if you can do ballet, you can do everything.
Love that.
You can.
Yes.
If you can, like I feel like even if you didn't tap, you could fake your way through a tap audition if you knew ballet.
Coordinated.
You fake your way through a jazz audition if you know ballet. So there's the thing. I always do tap, and I'm a tapper. Like we all know, I love tap. But the last on the list for me is tap. When it comes to your basic training, like do ballet, then jazz, then if you're really hungry, do tap. Tap is the sort of icing for an audition. Like not a lot of people tap.
It's true.
So it's great. It's great if you have it in your wheelhouse, but it's not necessary to succeed. I cannot believe I'm saying this as a tap teacher, but tap is not necessary to succeed, whereas ballet and jazz are very necessary.
Yeah. So this would be interesting. Gwen's given a little comment here, and maybe we could just get your thoughts on it, just as somebody who auditions people, and So Gwen loves acro. A bunch of dancers love acro.
Yeah, acro again. It's that bonus. It's that thing when you go to an audition and you do the dance combo. And then sometimes like, all right, do you have any special skills? That's when you're like, bam, got you. Round up, back handspring, back tuck.
Aerial,
Yeah, aerial, crazy. A lot of the special skills are acro and hyperflexibility.
Yep.
Those
that's what you consider in that industry. It's like a special skill.
It's definitely a special skill. And you put it on your resume because Royal Caribbean, they hire specifically dancers who can do acro because they do a lot of tumbling on the ship. I'll upload one of our shows and show you guys.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
It's like the crazy stuff that the acro people have to do. Like they have to go on a tumble track on the ship. So the ship is rocking and they're tumbling. That's the best part of leaping on a ship. You do a leap and the ship moves and you're like, there's the ground. It's like jumping on an elevator.
Yeah. So, but then in an audition, typically you would start with something like ballet and then move.
For musical theater, traditionally, they will sing you first.
Or you'll do that. But
yeah,
the dance
they'll sing you first. And that's the other thing about being a dancer. If you're a dancer who can sing, you already have a leg up. Because if you can make it through the vocal audition, most of the people that can sing can't dance as well. Like they're a singer first. So if you can get your leg in as a singer, and then they're like, okay, now the dance call back, and you're like, what? I got this. This is the easy stuff. Yeah. So it's great. It's really good. And then acting on top of that, because nobody wants to listen to you sing or dance if they don't believe what you're doing. So.
Right. Cool. Well, yeah, all really good.
Yeah, acro is a bonus. Like I did tumble. I don't anymore because those.
What could you do? Like, what was your highest skill that you got to?
Round off back handspring back layout.
Dang. Really?
Yeah. I was a tumbler.
That in audition?
I would do my favorite thing to do in an audition was a standing back tuck, just because it was just like boom.
Boom.
Yeah, it was very much like mic drop, boom, go.
That's awesome. I had no idea that you could do it.
Tumbling's great.
Gymnastics or tumbling or acro, like what?
It was more, mine was more gymnastics background, like level, I think I got to like level 6. I don't remember. But
okay, cool.
The whole thing where you have to climb the rope with your legs straight out and you're like,
oh man.
Yeah. Like
that's
gym.
awesome.
I used to choreograph floor routines for gymnasts. Like that used to be my,
See, this is what I mean. Like every time I talk to you, I'm like, when did you have time for this in your life?
I'm old. I've lived a long life.
Oh, long life. Awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to try to get into questions from
the kids
and parents and everything. So what is the most, this is from Margot and Mia. What is the most difficult costume you've ever had to get in and out of? And we might have already kind of touched on this if I had to guess, but maybe there's something else.
I guess I had to do a costume change in Hairspray on stage.
Oh, yeah.
So I was very aware of my bits. Like I had to be very aware of like what is showing, what is not. The dress has to go over.
Yeah.
I had to do in Evita, I had to do a magnetic costume change, which is your costume is stuck to you by magnets. So you run off stage, they pull it off you, and then you turn around and go back on.
Literally like.
Yeah, it was quite crazy. All Shook Up was hard because I had to put the jeans on with my shoes on.
Oh.
Like I had to do the costume change, putting my feet through a pair of jeans with the blue suede shoes on, so that was kind of a pain.
Oh my goodness.
I've actually never had crazy. I've had a couple friends that have had really bad ones.
Yeah.
Like that have had. My shortest costume change, I think, was 40 seconds. That was the fastest costume change I ever had to do. But that's actually slow. I've had friends that have had 30, 20.
So for Beauty and the Beast that now is canceled, we were supposed to be like just finishing up a run a couple weeks ago. We did have a 30-second quick change to do the entire dress and the headpiece.
Yep.
So that was tight, but you just do it. You know, you
just do it. I call it you learn the way of the fireman.
Yeah.
You just set your costume so that you can step out of this one and jump into this one, and that's. I'll see if I can find the pictures because the dancers on the ship. Whew, they had some crazy. Nobody was in the dressing room for the entire show because they were all backstage changing.
Oh my goodness.
I was the only one, and a fun fact about that show too, my feet didn't hit the ground to the finale. I flew for the entire show.
Oh, that's nuts.
So like I come on stage at the end, I'm like, oh good, here's the stage. This is great. So
now, yeah,
I'm on stage now, but I was just playing for the whole show. But the dancers backstage, they I'll put that on too. I'll send these to you. But they had black suits on, and they had to change into white suits, and so they were all magnetized to the point where a girl, she jumps into the pit, and like 5 seconds later comes up in another costume.
Oh my!
And it's crazy.
Wow,
it's crazy. Yeah.
Those are all pretty crazy changes for sure.
So
yeah, those are good ones. Molly and Heather ask, who is your, if you're at liberty to say, who is your favorite co-star that you've ever worked with?
Oh man.
I know, I'm putting you on the spot, man. Molly and Heather.
I mean my husband, but
well, there you go.
I did put Jim on stage once when an actor was down, and I made him go on stage and be one of the extras on stage, and I have a picture of it. It's hilarious. He was one of the cops in Hairspray, and he's just standing there like, I'm so uncomfortable right now. I am not an actor. This is not what I do.
That's awesome.
But I will say the most professional I've ever worked with, like just stand-up guy, Mike Zyko. He was on Broadway in once, but he was my Robbie Hart.
Oh, nice.
And Wedding Singer.
Great.
And his wife was in the shows too, and he was also one of my Chads for All Shook Up.
Oh,
so we worked with each other quite a bit, and he's just an all-around stand-up guy. But I've had actually a really good experience with co-stars. They've all been very professional. I have never had like a butthead co-star. I'm very lucky. I've had buttheads in the cast, but I've never had like butthead co-stars.
There's always a few, right?
Yeah, but it's like life.
Exactly.
Winners, a lot of losers. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, cool. Then they asked, what was your we kind of already covered your first audition story, but if you have anything to
I have a funny first New York audition story. So the first time I auditioned in New York, it was for I didn't get it, obviously, but it was for the national tour of Tommy. And all of my castmates drove up from Pennsylvania because we were doing a show in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and we drove up to the city for this audition. We're like, okay, cool. So we all drove up, went to the audition, And I remember standing there and I sang, and all the guys and girls at the audition table, like I sang, and they like leaned over and they started writing and like talking to each other. And I finished singing and they didn't stop doing that. So they were still talking and still talking. And I was standing there and I'm sort of like penguin, like, and then finally, me being me, I was like, what?
Oh.
And they all looked up. I was like, I'm sorry, this is my first New York audition. Like, do you need anything else from me? And they were like, no, just the part that you're right for, we've already cast. So I was like, oh, thanks. I was like, cool. So remember me. And they're like, oh, we will. Don't worry. But
That's
it was,
that they told you though.
It was like, very funny because I was just finally, I'm talking an awkward 30 to 40 seconds standing there, like just standing there, like,
what do you do?
Did I leave the room? Like, I thanked the pianist. I went over and thanked the pianist, and which is something you should always do in an audition. Thank your accompanist, always. And never snap at them. But I just kind of stood there, and finally I was like, okay, what? Like, I'm going to pee my pants if you don't talk to me right now. So
that's awesome.
That was my first New York audition, yes.
Well, at least it went well.
After it went well. Yeah.
After it went well, yes.
Yeah.
What made you want to become an actor? A performer, entertainer?
Entertainer. I'm going to be brutally honest. I love applause. I love making people smile or feel something or do something. Again, it's that validation thing. When people around me are happy or are enjoying themselves, I enjoy myself. That's just the kind of person I am. And it's I don't know if we want to call it like Judy Garland syndrome or something, but I definitely get like validation from an audience. It's very weird, but it's just something I like. So yeah, I enjoy it. I actually am a very introverted person when I'm not performing. So you guys all know me as like kooky April, like she does the crazy stuff. But when I'm home, I'm really chill. Like I don't go to like large gather. I'm not a big like party person. I
feel like a lot of performers are like that, you know. Yeah. They're very extroverted in a certain setting, but then also very introverted and okay with like.
Yeah, I am totally okay like crafting by myself.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. But when I'm on stage, there's nothing I can equate what giving a good performance is. Like when you know, like when you walk off stage and you're like, man, I nailed that. I nailed that. And people are screaming and you're just like, yeah. And it's not an ego thing. It has nothing to do with ego. It's just, man, that felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that. And that's just the feeling. So that's what made me be a performer. I wouldn't put myself through all the hard stuff that you have to do.
Totally. The crave for that.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Like that's the opening night and, you know, you just once the performance starts, the rehearsals are fun and you have your own camaraderie, but once you start performing, it's just like a drug. I don't know. It's just something awesome.
It's like an addiction. I think you described it perfectly. It's that desire, like that feeling of accomplishment, like the endorphin rush. Like it's totally like a performer's high kind of thing, you know, like you just feel so good.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, so this is one more from Molly and Heather. What did you want to be when you grew up, recognizing you may not be a grown-up yet?
Oh no, I'm not a grown-up. I refuse. I originally started as a biology major. I wanted to be a biologist. Yeah, I wanted actually to be an oceanographer that studied undersea stuff. I wanted to go to Woods Hole, Massachusetts, and that's where I wanted to study. And I was fascinated by that, and then I got bit by the performer bug.
So do you think that that's what you'd be doing if your life hadn't brought you the way that
I don't know. I feel like if I wasn't performing, I don't know what that looks like. That's just weird to me. I don't even know, like, if theater wasn't in my life, I don't even know how that smells. Like, no, I don't get that. Right. But what does that mean? To be like Matt Scala? I don't know what that means. But I am fascinated by science. I do love science. I had a really great geology professor in Arizona that got me fascinated by geology. He was a volcanologist. Very weird, but I feel like I would be in the sciences. I would either be in biology or geology. It's kind of my jam. That's my nerdy
Cool.
side. Maybe cook,
Totally.
but maybe someone's personal chef. Maybe that. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah, but
Unexpected. That's awesome though.
yeah, but I love science. So
I'm gonna try to hit as many of these as I can. So maybe let's try to
Go
do
for
some
it.
rapid fire. But these are tough questions to do rapid fire. So your worst audition story. Go.
Worst audition story. I actually fell right on my butt.
Oh no!
In the middle of a pirouette, just wrong choice of shoes, fell on my butt.
Oh no!
Still got the part, but it was terrible audition.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was like, I fell so, and it wasn't like a cute little, oh, I'm on the floor. It was like a, why am I on the ground?
And you got right back up.
That
right?
moment where you're just like, crap, I'm on the floor and I don't know why. Oh God, gotta get up now. Yeah, I did that.
And you still got the part, man. That's awesome. Favorite line from a show that you were in?
Oh, so many. I think it's never going back from
Yeah.
Hairspray. Like, yeah.
That's a good one.
That's probably my fave.
Penny, classic.
Penny classic.
Yes, best onstage moment.
It's an on
That's from Adri.
from Adri. Best onstage moment. Wow. I don't know. It's kind of an onstage, offstage moment. I was on stage and I did this really great note, and Jim was backstage and he went like this.
Aww.
And so it was like an onstage, offstage moment. And then he blew me a little kiss, and I was like, thanks, babe.
Oh,
that's kind of a special onstage moment. I mean, I have some others that I can't share with children, but because they were just funny and people decided to play pranks on me, and I was like, yeah, okay, I made it through that. I can tell you one prank, and some of them know it. The show Evita, you don't leave stage ever. Like, you just go and go and go, and you age from 15 to 29 or whatever. And there's this one point in the show where I could get a drink of water on a nightstand, like on the set. So they would always have a glass of water for me there. And closing night, it was straight vodka.
Oh man.
And I was like, oh, like,
you gotta keep that one, play that one cool.
Yeah, the looks I shot backstage, I was like, okay. So that was a good onstage prank that happened to me.
Nice. Yeah. Worst onstage moment.
That vodka, I think.
Vodka?
No.
Yeah.
that vodka, I think. No. Worst onstage moment. I actually, during Cats, this is gross. So if you guys have a weak stomach, don't get gross.
Brace yourself.
I actually threw up in my mouth and had to swallow it and keep singing.
Oh my gosh, that's pro. That's a pro.
It was like, Gus is the cat theater door. It was.
Had you just like eaten too much for dinner, or like?
I just was nervous because I was the soprano in the show, so I had to hit all the C's and get crazy, and so I was just nervous. It was opening night, and I was nervous, and I made myself sick. And,
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I have to say, I've never done that one. That's a good one.
No, I don't recommend it. It's not a good feeling. No.
Nope.
Worst one. Yeah, that would be my worst.
Yeah. Best advice you were given that you would like to pass on.
Be a nice person. I just, first and foremost, there are so many people out there that want to be part of this industry and that want to be performers. If you're not a nice person, it will get around. It will follow you. You might get one job, but you won't get the next one. And it's just a very, very small community. My friend Jeff said the same thing when he talked to musical theater class. It's like you have to be a nice person first and foremost, because there's so much demanded of you. Why waste your time being negative and backstabbing? And there's so many people out there like that, but it's such a waste of your energy, your artistic energy. Like, you could be putting your artistic energy into so much more. So just be a nice person and help people. You know, I don't. That's my advice in this industry. It's a waste of your time if you're gonna approach it from a negative angle. I don't know. That's great advice. Just like, be a nice person. Like, don't.
Right.
Don't pour your coffee on someone's resume. Don't do all that stuff. Because once you get cast, that's the other thing, is there's so much expected of you. Once you get cast, you have to work so hard to keep the part.
Right.
Keeping your weight where it is, keeping your look the way it is, keeping your body and top position. There's always someone waiting in the wings, waiting for your role. So you have to just be a good person. Like that's it.
Nope, that's great advice. What was your hardest dance number? Or not dance or number?
Hardest dance. The Jellicle Ball from Cats. It's a 15-minute long dance I remember the closing night of the show at the end of the number, everybody goes rah and then drops to the ground, and it was like primal. It was primal that the time we ended it, because it's like spin it, 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 rah, drop to the ground, and I was like, oh, finally. Or anything from a chorus line. The ending of a chorus line, you got to make friends with the tech guys on this one, because the end of the show ends with just a kick line. And you keep kicking until the lights go down. And so if the lighting guy is not happy that night, you're kicking for Jesus. Like, you're just kicking and going and going. And you're just like staring at the light booth going, you better black out soon, I'm dying. That was a fast costume change too. Changing into the finale of Chorus Line was a pretty quick one.
What part were you?
Morales.
Okay. Actually, maybe Adrian did tell me that.
Yes, I got a permanent hip ache from standing like this.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Love to do that show. I'm trying.
Oh, I know. I
want to direct it.
You let me know. Just slide my name in there. How do you stay positive through the rigorous audition process? That's from Lisa and Catherine.
Realize biggest thing about auditioning is that you have to realize that it's not a life validating act. It's an audition. Your job actually as an actor is to just audition, but don't go in there and think that you're going to get validation from an audition. So that's a really hard lesson to learn, because a lot of people are like, oh, they don't like me, they're not going to cast me. I've auditioned for shows and not been cast, but then they cast me 6 months later because they remember me from that audition.
Wow.
So you go in and just stay positive. But I used to do a ritual for myself. I don't do it anymore because that was a lot of weight gain. But I would always get like a popsicle or an ice cream after my audition, because I just wanted to treat myself no matter what, no matter how.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. So find something that's a ritual that has nothing to do with the audition. That always helped me. Whether it's buy a goofy t-shirt, buy some funky socks, like just something, unless you're going to like 7 auditions in a day, and then, which does happen.
You have a really nice dinner.
you have a really nice dinner. Just something that you reward yourself for just getting through the audition.
Yeah.
And like, I know as Adri experienced for the Maine State, like auditions can last all day long.
She was sick that day too.
Yeah.
That was a rough day. And you just got to get through it, right?
You just got to get through it, and then reward yourself, because it's your job.
This is, we got 2 more, and then
it's okay.
We'll wrap
I'm good.
We're doing great. This is really
I'm golden.
Fun. Yeah, I'm good. I got
where am I going to go? I live in Cornish.
I'm
going to go out and
killer bees and coronavirus. Like, what are we doing?
I was like, I opened my my propane tank the other day to see where it was at, and there were a bunch of bees in there. I was like, what's going on?
Yep, nope, back away slowly. What's the hardest accent you've ever had to master, and how did you do it?
The British accent, because my husband is judgmental, and he will tell me, and he will tell me. The biggest thing with any kind of dialect is realizing it's not just about how you pronounce the words, it's actually the speech pattern.
Ooh.
So it's not, I don't know, I don't even know what to say. Like, and also realize there's regional, like somebody goes, oh, I'm doing an American accent, but they always sound like they're from the South.
Right.
If they're in England. So it's, for us, it's like, oh yeah, you're a Mainer, yeah, you talk like that, yeah. Oh yeah, you can't, oh, what are you talking about? So get that, and then you get like the Boston, like, oh my God, it was so awesome, it was wicked pissa. And so,
straight up, yeah.
like, yeah, and then, but then you get the South, and they have a very like, oh, we're very lilty, and so, oh, honey, no, I don't think I need that. They have like a little lilt to their accent. So you just have to, get the speech pattern and figure out, it's not only how you pronounce the words, but the British one was so hard. Like, I'm trying to even think, a typically English accent. They're very.
That was very Mary Poppins-esque. Love it.
Yeah, that's Mary Poppins. But then if you go Cockney, they go little droll in there. So a lot of people go Cockney.
Right.
And that's Jim's biggest pet peeve is every time somebody does a British accent, they always go full Cockney. He's like, we don't know talk like that. So it's like if somebody did a New York accent and like, oh yeah, I'm from Boston, and you're like, no, that's New York. There's a difference.
It's so funny. Yeah, when I went to a summer camp one time that was in Boston, and for me, I feel like I don't have an accent really, but they were all like, you sound like such a Mainer. And I'm like, yeah, in Boston, I can't be that different, but it is different.
Oh, it's such a, when I meet the Mainers, like we're talking like the Swinders. We're talking like the Mainer.
The deep
Mainers.
The
deep. Remember where I live, I see a lot of them.
That's right.
But I talk to them, I'm like, you're speaking a foreign language. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's so funny.
So yeah, I actually had to go to speech therapy when I was little because I had, my agent wouldn't let me audition for commercials because my Boston accent was so thick.
What?
Yeah, really? I had a really bad, I was like, Ma, come on. I would just, it was a really bad Boston accent. So I had to go to speech therapy. That's why I don't sound like I'm from anywhere now, because I had to go through speech therapy to sound generic.
Right. But now you can play anybody.
Trying.
Yeah. This is from Susan.
Yes.
And she asked, are there any parts that you didn't get that you wish you had gotten?
Oh, so many. Like, yeah, of course. There are always parts. I would love to play Diana next to Normal. I'd love to play Miss Hannigan.
Oh, okay. That would be so
at some point. I'd love to play Mama Rose. Yeah. I'm not the type yet. I'm between types, so I have to just kind of do my work. But one part that I can't play anymore that I would have loved to play is Tracy Turnblad. I would have loved to have been Tracy. I would have loved to have been Tracy. I'm always the penny. I'm always the sidekick. Or like Sandy in Grease. I'm always the goofball. I'm never the...
Right.
But I know my type, so there you go.
And you work it, right? So you know your type.
Hey,
you gotta play it out.
Sometimes, I'm going to be brutally honest, the most fun roles are not the lead.
I believe it. Yeah.
The most fun roles are the supporting characters or the villain. I've been the Little Mermaid, but I've also been Ursula.
Oh, that's fun.
So, and Ursula was way more fun.
Yeah.
Like, I had so much more fun being the Ursula character. Like, just to be mean. Yeah, I don't know. It's just fun.
Not the typical, like,
right.
You know, I'm a girl and I'm living life or whatever, you know.
Yeah, like, there's only so many pretty songs you can sing, and then it's like, all right, can we just have some fun now?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that was pretty much, I think I got everything that people sent in for the most part. And then I just kind of wanted to wrap it up. We kind of already talked about advice that you have for, you know, young performers, aspiring performers, but if there's anything else that you want to add to that.
Obviously your health is most important. Like, stay healthy, take care of yourself. This is your product. So don't abuse it. Don't, you know, when you get older, don't drink too much. Please don't smoke anything. Like, it's just terrible for you, period. Mm-hmm. It's just a bad choice generally. Stay in shape. Depending on your type, like, I've had to gain weight for roles. That's the hardest thing to do.
What role was that?
I had to play Madame Thénardier. Okay. And I had to be a bigger person. And I gained about 40 pounds, and it was so hard to lose it. So yeah,
I can't picture that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. She gets real big right about here. Yeah. She gets big. These don't go anywhere. Like, none of this happens, but she gets big. Yeah. And just respect for the craft. I think a lot of times now, especially, I was talking to my friend Dustin about this, and a lot of people are so busy trying to be influencers that they're not being artists. Mm. So respect your art, like and be proud of it. There are so many times where I've had conversations with people and they're like, oh, what do you do? I'm a director, I'm a dancer, I'm a performer. And they're like, no, really? It's like, no, this is what I do. This is something to be respected. You worked your butt off, so respect it. Right. And honestly, demand that the people around you do as well, because it is a craft. You are a what do they call it? An educated worker. There are not a lot of people that can do what you do. Yep. So respect it and have pride, because if you don't have pride in it, there's no way the people around you are going to have pride in what you do. Mm-hmm. So as long as you respect the art and respect the fact that it is a skilled position, then other people will too. The second you say, oh yeah, I'm gonna go do a show because my life is fabulous, it's like, no, you had to work your butt off to get where you are.
Totally.
So
that's great advice. I love that.
Respect it.
Let's just wrap up on advice or thoughts that you have, because this is obviously a crazy time in the world, and for both of us, like we haven't had to deal with anything like this in our lifetime, like
nope,
ever, something
ever.
No, like this is crazy. So how do you stay motivated and still like aspire and plan for the future?
Well, for me, like I've been still rehearsing online with Madagascar. Like we're still having rehearsals online.
Oh, really? That's great.
We still are rehearsing because they knew the whole show before we went into quarantine. So I feel like it's only fair to them that that's the first thing we do.
Yeah.
And then we're looking, Hairspray is going to be the next thing because that's priority for me.
Yeah.
But also just be available. Like that's, I think the hardest thing for us is we get into, Molly's like, I'm fine now. As long as Hairspray is happening, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Make yourself available through this. And I promise I'll get better at Instagram. I'm just not a social media person.
I like, so figure that out, because that's going to bother me. It was like,
I want to figure it out too, because I'm just not, I think because I lived so publicly for so long, I don't do a lot of social media. I
totally respect
my
that.
life is private. As I like to tell the kids, it's like I get in my car and you guys you're at the studio. Like I don't go, oh my gosh, Molly didn't point her toes today. Don't do that.
You leave it at work.
I leave it there. But for this, be creative. Like just because you can't go out and do something doesn't mean that you can't be creative. We've done some crazy creative stuff. I bought a ballet bar. I mean,
yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I'm like, okay, I'll pop into your class, but just do one of these like Catherine
things. Can you please? Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm gonna do one of the Catherine things where you can't see me. I'll just do bar with you guys.
Yeah, just do bar. You can only see like the lower 2 inches. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Just as long as you can see my feet, it's fine.
Just my toe. Because you've got crazy arches. You've got crazy feet. I'll watch your feet happily.
I know. Well, that's the other thing is one of my students in Florida, Carson. We got to get him in a ballet class. Like he's a natural ballet dancer, and he just won't take ballet anymore because he went through all the Billy Elliot training.
Yeah,
and so now he's just like, I'm burnt. I can't do it anymore. Like,
well, that's the other kind of cool thing about this time. Like I just suggested for Lily to maybe pop into our acro class and give it a try, because it's like you're at home, nobody's watching you or judging you. Like
nobody cares.
Just try it. Like it's a good time to experiment, I think.
I'm also gonna reach out to the studio in Florida and see if they want to do like an exchange, like
that'd be so fun.
like a pen pal, but it's a Zoom pal.
Yeah.
So
that'd be really fun.
You can pick their brains, or that. I think that would be really fun. But yeah, things like that, like record. They got their new tap dance song that we're gonna do their dance to. Like that's something creative and funny. So
totally awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this. This is so fun.
Anytime. This is fun. I could sit and chat with you guys all day. Please.
I know. We could keep going, but we've been on for a while. I'll let you go. And the sun's trying to poke out, so that's good. No more snow. But so
the fact that it was snowing this morning hurt my soul.
It was like, what is it? It's May. So today would have been our recital day prior to COVID-19. So I wanted to do something fun, and I thought doing an interview with the crazy, amazing April.
The psychotic April, yes.
No, I'm always learning new stories. Like we'll have a 2-minute conversation, and I'm like, she did what? Like what job is that? Like this is crazy. So anyway, I think
people forget that I'm older than they think I am. So like you can do a lot. You can do a lot in life. That's the other advice. Like don't be afraid to try new things. Like just do it.
Just do it. The worst they're gonna say is no, right?
No, yeah. The worst, like same thing with an audition. The worst they're gonna say is we can't use you. We've already cast the part, or you're not right. You're too short. Like okay, that's not something I can help. So okay, whatever.
You just do it.
It took a long time to get there for me. I wasn't like that before. Like when I was in high school, I was like, they hate me. Nobody wants to cast me. But
right. You get to a point where it's just kind of like.
You're just like, all right, whatever. Moving on.
Yeah. Well, I love it. Well, thank you so much, April. I'll let you go, but I miss you. Hope you're hanging in there, and
we're doing great. Love you guys that didn't show your faces. Bye, Heather.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.